Asian Tribune outreach team is connecting politicians, those who are working in the interest of constituents or Alberta. Today we are with Christina Gray, MLA, Edmonton-Mill Woods, and she is House Leader for NDP as well. This is her third term as MLA, so she should be darling to very many constituents as she's third time MLA. So, Christina, welcome to the interview.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we have been connecting a while on our events as well. And you are very inclusive. I appreciate. So, you see, in the present scenario, because NDP is a great opposition, as we see, leader has also changed.
That's right.
So how do you feel? How is NDP doing as a caucus?
So it's a really exciting time right now because our new leader, Naheed Nenshi, has just finished his first 2 weeks in question period, and he did fantastic. This, you will recall, he has been our elected leader by the party for more than a year, but the UCP government refused to call the by-election. They didn't want him in the legislature. And so now we see him holding Danielle Smith accountable, talking about what Albertans have as their immediate priorities: education, from the teacher strike to the classroom conditions to how many students are in those classrooms, healthcare and the wait times, and the Albertans who still can't get the doctor, and the measles that has public health has not been managing because, of course, this government continues to get political, to affordability. A big thing that Naheed has talked a lot about is how expensive things have gotten under the UCP government, how groceries and car insurance and electricity has gone up. So the caucus is doing really well and feeling really strong, especially now that Naheed is finally in the legislature doing the job that Albertans want him to do.
Well, I do agree opposition is always there all the time to make uproar. But are constituents benefited or are Albertans benefited out of it?
Absolutely. So the last thing we want is this UCP government that is working to privatize our public services, that worked to engineer a strike that did not need to happen the way it did, that continues to make life more expensive without somebody talking about the real priorities for Albertans and how we can do better. And so I'm really proud to be part of an official opposition that knows Albertans deserve better, that we can have better, and is working to provide the solutions and to provide the alternative to the UCP government.
So you see, I see Daniel Smith, you see, Premier was away to other countries to set up with oil and gas or to promote the business or to promote tourism. What is your take on that?
So there's a couple things because the timing of her trip was very deliberately chosen because Danielle Smith and the UCP chose to not bargain collectively with the teachers across 18 months. They wouldn't talk about class sizes, they wouldn't talk about complexity, things they knew were important issues for teachers, parents, families. We used to have the best education system in the country, in the world. And under the UCP in the last 6 years, we have lost that. Without building new schools, without having enough supports and funding, Alberta now has the lowest per student funding in the country. We spend the least per student anywhere. And that's Alberta. It's ridiculous. So the government allowed the strike to build, allowed it to continue for 3 weeks. And instead of taking so many more measured options, instead of negotiating and talking about class size and complexity, instead of choosing to be sent to arbitration, there were all sorts of things they could have done. Instead, they passed a bill forcing teachers back and they took away their rights. We have a government that is taking away rights from people. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms, really important to Canadians. It's part of what makes us Canadians. And this government is very callously taking that away. And I bring this up because Danielle Smith introduced that legislation and then left the country. She was not here to talk about what was happening and the rights they were taking away. Instead, she left. And that, to me, really stood out as a failure of leadership. I also completely disagree with how the UCP government handled the strike situation and what they're doing when it comes to education. And so we talk about that a lot. But Danielle Smith choosing to take a trip after taking away rights from Albertan citizens. This premier who has said she's the most freedom loving premier in existence. It's absolutely ridiculous. Very frustrating for us in the official opposition, and very frustrating for teachers, for parents, for students. We've seen so many giant rallies on just this issue that the premier chose to do this and then leave. Shocks me.
So this was intentional moves, you mean to say? And many people, newcomers, have come up also, as it is country of immigrants. They are not getting family physician.
Yes.
So how NDP will addressing now?
So when Danielle Smith was elected as leader of the UCP, and when she became premier, she promised to fix healthcare in 90 days. And here we are, more than 1,000 days, and things are just getting worse and worse. And they are creating chaos by fracturing the healthcare system, creating 4 ministers, adding all sorts of new layers of management. It's really unfortunate because we need to be seeing people more easily getting doctors. We need to see good health advice being followed. We need to see shorter wait times in the ERs, shorter wait times for surgeries. And that's not what Albertans are getting. And so an NDP government and the official opposition have been talking about the need to reinvest in healthcare, to support the frontline workers, and to make sure that there is better for Albertans. We need strong healthcare available when people and families need it. Naheed has talked in the legislature as leader of the official opposition about some really scary stories, kids not getting the treatment that they needed, and the investments in our healthcare system not happening. To me, it was really striking because we saw this legislative session start with a new speech from the throne. And that's supposed to tell people what the government's plans and intentions are and their goals. And the speech from the throne that this government just delivered included a statement that they would build no more standalone hospitals. We know here in particularly South Edmonton, the new South Edmonton Hospital has been a huge concern for people. And I think a lot of people voted for Gurtesh Singh Brar in Ellerslie because they support and believe in a South Edmonton hospital. And yet this government not only canceled that project, they're now announcing that they won't build new hospitals. It's incredibly concerning. And it's not what Albertans deserve. We deserve better.
Okay. So, and third thing, as you were talking affordability, it is very vast statement, affordability. But you as NDP, how will you focus on your initiatives for affordability?
So there's a number of things in affordability that the provincial government is responsible for. And one of the characteristics of this government is we see them talking about things that are outside their responsibility. They love to pick fights with others, but they could genuinely work to bring down insurance costs. Albertans pay some of the highest insurance in the country, and that's purely because of how the UCP government has chosen to handle that. The same can be said for energy and the costs that are associated there. Under this government, we now have the highest youth unemployment. People struggle to find work. We need a government that's focused on creating jobs, but also understands that workers deserve fair wages, because every worker is somebody else's customer. And so we need to look at doing things like increasing minimum wage. Alberta has the lowest minimum wage in the country. It hasn't been moved in 7 years. That's the longest period of time in Alberta's history since we first had a minimum wage. It's always moved a little, it kept up. Inflation and the cost of things increasing really takes away buying power. And right now, somebody on minimum wage is essentially living in poverty and not able to get themselves out of poverty. And if workers in Alberta can't buy groceries and pay rent, then that's killing the Alberta advantage. And so there needs to be a conversation about that, because whether it's fair wages for someone making minimum wage, fair wages for teachers and healthcare workers, there are more labor disputes that are coming potentially because this government is not dealing with workers fairly. And so these are things on affordability that we can talk about. Right now in the legislature, Bill 201, introduced by my colleague Kathleen Ganley, would not only set out a plan to increase minimum wage, it also does something called tip protection. I had also proposed this tip protection idea earlier in last session, and Kathleen is reoffering it. When we leave a tip at any restaurant, that tip does not by law have to go to the worker. And there's 6 or 7 provinces in Canada where by law, if you leave a tip for good service as a thank you, that has to go to the worker. Here in Alberta, a shocking amount of time, the money we leave as tips is going to the owners or the managers and not to the workers. And so Bill 201, increasing minimum wage in a reasonable way and protecting tips, is exactly the kind of affordability measure that.
What I visualize every day, there are no careers. People are either driving or they are delivering. So how extra jobs would be created by if NDP forms a government?
Absolutely. Well, we need a government that's going to invest, especially in the public services that we need: healthcare, education. We need to make sure that there's good foreign credential recognition so that when someone, because a lot of our immigration is economic, it's for people who have skills that we need in this province, but often they come and they can't start working in their trained field because of credentialing differences. We need a government that takes that seriously and that actively works to remove those barriers so that people can find jobs and work, not just necessarily in a temporary job that they've found, but in the career that they want. So we need to see that. And then, of course, as the province is growing, as more people are arriving, as the government runs campaigns called Alberta is Calling and invites people, you can't do that and not build hospitals and not build new affordable housing and not build new schools. We need to have the services that are there for the people here in Alberta. And with our population growing, that means we need to invest.
What I hear loud and clear is you are talking that after taking over Naheed, your traction as NDP has grown.
It's been really positive, really exciting. You probably saw Naheed Nenshi won the leadership campaign for the Alberta NDP with a record number of people engaging, buying memberships so that they could vote, and a record number of people choosing Naheed. So we are solidly behind the leader. We're very excited. He had such an amazing reputation as the mayor of Calgary. While he was mayor, Calgary was voted one of the best cities to live in the world. We saw him handle the Calgary floods with absolute grace and dignity, and people really respected the work that he did in that crisis. And he genuinely cares about people. He cares about you and the families in Mill Woods, and that matters to me.
Okay. Will NDP form government in 2027?
I believe that, especially with the government taking away rights, especially with the government refusing to make sure everyone has a family doctor, making life more expensive. We are about to go back into the legislative session, and I would request that people consider what are the pieces of legislation that the government is bringing in, and does it make your life better? Because so far we've seen legislation that takes away rights. We've seen legislation that consolidates power with the UCP ministers. We are not seeing legislation to help with healthcare or to help with affordability. And so the official opposition is putting forward those ideas, and it's really, really exciting. Today is also a launch for a new campaign that our leader, Naheed Nenshi, has put out. If you go to albertandp.ca/ready or Naheed's social media, my social media, you'll see a new video essentially talking about our leader and who he is and our vision for the province. It's really exciting. I hope you go and take a look at it right away, and I hope all the viewers take a look at this too.
Many things are on your plate and NDP's plate. So your constituents, Edmonton-Mill Woods,
Yeah.
what is your message to them and what you expect from them?
Absolutely. Well, I want constituents in Millwoods to know that my colleagues and I are in the legislature advocating for the things I hear, whether I'm out at a community league event and people stop to talk to me, whether I go out door knocking, over and over, the issues of affordability, healthcare, and particularly education right now keep coming forward. We're going to continue to talk about those. In the next few weeks, we'll be back in the legislature. You're going to see the government and the UCP not focused on the things that are most important to you. And so please follow me on Facebook and social media, and follow Nahed Nenshi, the leader, as well, to see more about what we're doing. And in the meantime, you'll find me at many different holiday seasonal events in December. If you see me, please come say hello. And in January, on January 31st, at the MILLWOODS Town Centre, I'm going to be hosting my annual resource fair. And the resource fair is a way to connect with all of the public service agencies, the service groups, the faith groups, everybody who's doing amazing work here in Millwoods. I invite them to join me at the Millwoods Town Centre for what we call a resource fair. And it's really a chance to get to know the community better. So locally in Millwoods, that's something that's coming up for me that I'm very excited about.
Thank you, Christina. Thanks for your time as well. And good luck for down the line.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you.